really what meditation is a practice of softly coming back again and again. With consistency, that space between the thoughts that we were talking about gradually expands. And that is where the magic happens.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TFM podcast. My name is Lisa Chance. I'm a fasting coach here at TFM, and I'm with another wonderful fasting coach. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Jamie, and I'm also a fasting coach here at the Fasting Method. And I'm also a meditation teacher for the Fasting Methods. So I have kind of two roles with the company.
Yes, our actual topic is meditation and breathing, why they work and how to keep it simple. I always tend to go off into the woods, down rabbit holes. So Jamie is here to keep me focused and online.
I'll try.
Remind me to breathe. So, meditation and breathing exercises, they can make a powerful impact on our body. They really help regulate our stress, improve our sleep, and support our overall health. And just mindfulness will actually help you metabolize a meal better. So, Jamie, why don't you tell us how meditation and breathing and what we do in our TFM community and how they can have an impact on our day-to-day life?
Sure. I use it a lot talking to my clients in two ways, really. When we're talking about breathing and taking the breath, I often will talk about it as a way for them to not only help with their stress, regulate their nervous system, but also using it for practical reasons like taking a pause. Because there's so many different things tied up when you're on this health journey. And for many of us, yes, part of it is trying to control some of our behaviors around food, eating, etc. So when you put all of that together, sometimes all we need to help us get through is a good deep breath. It can be such a game changer. Taking breaths helps to lower your cortisol. You're the science one here, but it helps you to bring it back into that present moment. And then you can really make better choices because you're calm, you're regulated. There's lots of different ways that you can do breathing and breath work, but I like to keep it simple. I'm a big hand on chest person. Getting that tactile, putting your hand on your chest and taking 3 intentional deep breaths. You can try it. I see you're trying it. You can, if you're driving, please don't try any of this until you get home. If you want to play along with any of this, wait till you're parked. But yeah, putting your hand on your chest, breathing in, breathing out. Find that you're a nice big exhale. 3 of those can really help you to get centered. It just helps you to get to that place where A, you can make better choices, but B, you've just calmed the whole nervous system down. Because when you breathe and do those slow, deep belly breaths, you're doing a few things. Your heart rate begins to slow. You activate the vagus nerve, which also helps to calm that nervous system. Your blood pressure lowers, your muscle softens, and your mind just becomes clearer. Breathing is so important, and we find ourselves so often holding your breath, right? You find like, oh, I haven't even taken a breath. And just reminding ourselves to breathe. There's a few things you want to remember when you're trying to use breathing for all of those benefits. One is, and it's, again, so simple. You want to have your exhale be even just 2 beats greater than your inhale. That's what also helps with all the things I said before in terms of regulation. So a common one is people will do breathing in for 4 and out for, say, 6. Any combination that feels good to you with that, if it's 5, 7, whatever that is for you, everyone has a little different capacity. But that makes a really big difference, is having that out breath be a couple beats longer than the in breath.
I find that even if I do those 3 breaths, like hand on my heart, 3 deep breaths in and out before my meal, I eat my meal more mindfully. My cortisol drops. And what I like about it is it's one of those practical now levers that I can pull that will help with my metabolism. Having to do meditation, which I'll be honest, I only meditate about 3 times a week. I should do more. I know I should. But this is something that I can pull out before every meal. It's quick, it's easy, it incorporates that pause before I go into that meal.
100%. Yeah. It's something that I encourage people to practice throughout the day, because it builds as opposed to being a crisis breather or meditator. You want to make it part of your day. So things you could do is while you're waiting in line for something, just take a few breaths. While you're sitting in the car in traffic, great time to take a few breaths with eyes open. And again, as you say, before you're eating, before responding to, say, a difficult conversation, take that moment to pause. It's really all about taking that pause that we talk about.
Yeah. I read a recent article on this in anticipation of this podcast, and they were talking that even taking 5 minutes occasionally throughout the day just to stop and pause is so beneficial. It's like huge benefits. And if you can't do that pause, that's a whole nother way. You have to reflect on that. Like, why is it so much that you can't even take a pause somewhere in your day where you can just kind of pull back? And we had a conversation years ago on the pause, Viktor Frankl's pause. Do you want to tell them that story? I could jump into.
Oh, yeah, I definitely will. It has to do with my favorite quote. But one thing that you just said, Lisa, made me think about, as you say, when to take one. And that's where, and this is what I love about this community and what we teach. So many of our teachings really connect. So we talk a lot about habit stacking. You can make the pause and doing your breath, you can habit stack it. And then it becomes something that's automatically in your day. Like I will do it whenever I switch a task. I take a couple minutes to do some breathing. Like when I finish one of my groups at TFM, if I finish that 50-minute group, my cue when I turn off and say goodbye to a meeting, I'll take a couple minutes and take a pause and breathe.
Oh, see, I need to do that.
Because then I've habit stacked it. And that's how I do my meditations. If we're going to get into that in a little bit as well, I habit stack when I'm going to meditate. Another huge way to use breathing and the pause as a habit stack is what my teacher, David G., calls doorknob breathing. He described it as when we used to like go to offices and go to meetings, you would maybe put your hand on the doorknob to go into a meeting, take a breath to center yourself before you go into a meeting. How I've adapted it for our community is still a doorknob, but more the refrigerator door and your cupboard doors. So I tell my clients, when you find yourself, because sometimes we find ourselves all of a sudden in the kitchen going for something when it's not our time, when you find your hand on that refrigerator handle or on a cupboard doorknob, let that be your cue, hand on heart, take 3 deep breaths. And in that moment, you can re-regulate yourself and come back to ask yourself the question, what am I really hungry for right now? Because you've made that pause in that action of automatically opening the cupboard and grabbing something.
Yeah, I'm going to be difficult here because I'm going to tell you my problem. All right, do the 3 pauses. And I have another little voice in the back of my head going, okay, hurry up and get through this part because I want to go ahead and pick what I want out of the refrigerator. Hurry up and appease that part of you that is all woo woo magic and just get to it. The sooner you get through this, the sooner we can get to the food.
Practice, practice, practice. All these things are practices. The more you do it, you feel so good. If you really take those long, deep breaths, you feel really good and it calms you. So you're able to control that voice in the back of your head. And the more you do it, it builds.
I used to struggle with plating. I sucked at it. I mean, like if you were giving me a grade, I'd be lucky to get a D plus. You know what I mean? But over the years, I have improved. Am I an A student with plating yet? No, but maybe a B, B plus on occasion. Sometimes B minus, but I'm not down there in the D anymore. So it's practice, like you say. Just keep practicing it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just keep practicing. That's the mistake and the misperception people have about things like breathing and meditation. They expect themselves to be perfect at it.
From the get-go.
But we call it a meditation practice for a reason. It's a practice.
Yeah, interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the pause. That kind of blew my mind because I was coming from the science aspect of it, and you were coming from the meditation teacher. And we had this conversation years ago. Go ahead and talk about the quote that we both love so much.
Yeah, my favorite quote is by Viktor Frankl, and I first heard it again from my teacher. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
I often call it the synapse canyon. So when a nerve signal travels down a neuron, it moves as an electrical event, an action potential. So basically, a wave comes racing down that axon. And when it reaches the end of the neuron, it hits a wall, and there's this tiny little gap. So think of that, hit the wall, right? Whatever you hitting the wall, that's exactly what's happening at the cellular level. The technical term, I believe, is synaptic cleft, but I call it the synapse canyon, all right? Because it's like a nanosecond we're talking about here. And there's all sorts of chemistry that's going on in your electrons and your electrolytes and all that stuff that are switching and changing. But what is interesting is that we were talking one day and we were talking about slowing that response. And the science shows that when you meditate, you slow that jump from one neuron to the other. It slows. I always talk about it as being like you're floating in the air like Michael Jordan, right? So
Right.
you're hovering over that synaptic canyon a little longer. There's a pause between stimulus and response.
Yes.
And in that pause, that's where you are, and that's where you can make a better choice.
Exactly.
And it's happening at the cellular level when you meditate. And you and I were talking, and it just blew my mind. You're like, well, what do you think we've been talking about all these years? And I'm like, I didn't take it down to the actual cellular level,
Right.
the science that I know and that I can envision in my brain. It just kind of blew my mind.
And it does for most people when they really think about it in that way. And there's so much research on meditation that they see exactly as you described it. The more you meditate, it lengthens that gap.
It changes kind of the balance and the traffic of those signals. And it's an immediate shift. And you can, with practice, as you say, you get better and better and better at that. And that's why these people are so calm.
Exactly. You're less reactive. You're less reactive
Yes.
because you have that moment.
It's happening at the cellular level. Let me reiterate that.
I know. Yeah, we had to bring it down to the science level for Lisa. That's why we're a team. When Lisa talks science, my brain kind of goes, huh? And then she brings me back to that piece of it.
And then you bring in the woo-woo, and I'm like, but there's a reason woo-woo works. It's fascinating that it works. Our bodies are amazing. They really are.
It is. And then the next question we always get is, or we always hear people say is, but I can't meditate. I'm terrible at meditating. I don't know how to meditate, right? You came up with some of those when I was first trying to get you to meditate.
Oh, yeah. It was funny. That was so funny. Because I like to tap, and I like to tap on my fingers, and I like a count of 4. I used to tap I am enough on the tip of my inner outer aspect of my finger, where the tapping point is not right on the very tip of the finger, it's kind of on the edge of it. So I asked Jamie for a mantra, and she said, I have a choice. And I said, no, I couldn't respond to her fast enough. No, I don't want to do that one. Which meant that's exactly the one I need to do the most, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I do think that both of these, when you pair the breathing with regular meditation practice, it really does change everything, not only on this health journey, which it certainly does, but just how we relate to life, how we relate to ourselves. I do think it's important. I want to talk to some of the pushback that we get when we talk about meditation, because we're constantly here. I can't sit still. My mind won't stop racing. I don't have time. Nothing happens when I meditate, so why bother? People think they're going to be having this big out of body experience.
Instant gratification takes too long, as Carrie Fisher said, right? Boom, I meditated once. Why aren't I fixed?
Exactly. So, some of the most common myths are, again, I need to clear all thoughts from my mind. Well, the truth is, we have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's not going to happen. Expecting zero thoughts during meditation is unrealistic. Even the Dalai Lama still has thoughts when he meditates. Maybe not as many of us do, but he still does. What we actually are learning in meditation is noticing a thought. You want to notice the thought, acknowledge it, and then let it drift by, just like a cloud. But you want to notice it and then return to your mantra or the breath or your point of focus, whatever you're using in that meditation. So really what meditation is a practice of softly coming back again and again. With consistency, that space between the thoughts that we were talking about gradually expands. And that is where the magic happens. Soon you find your thoughts are not as often, but you're always going to have thoughts. And that's the practice. That's the practice right there, is acknowledging the thought and then just drifting back to whatever your point of focus is. And that's where people get tripped up, because they start having thoughts and they think, I blew it. I can't do this. And that's one of the biggest myths.
It's such an important point, because that's exactly where people quit.
Yes.
I just can't do it properly.
Right.
They even use that word correctly. Yes. My mind won't start. I'm bad at this. I suck at this. So, how to clear that? I actually, when I first decades ago, I couldn't meditate, and I needed to do it for my migraines. My neurologist recommended it. And I had to start with, I used to run back then. So I had to start with running, because one of the things they tell you to start with is breathing. And breathing wasn't working for me, sitting and breathing. But when I ran, I absolutely concentrated on my breath. And so then I could merge those two together, because definitely was concentrating on my breath.
Yeah, there's no bad meditation. I've been doing this regularly for about almost 10 years. I had my training about 4 years ago, and I still sometimes find my mind wandering, and I'm sitting here thinking about my grocery list or something. And I have to remind myself to return. We all do. So it's a practice. And the other thing people always say is, I don't have time. And it's about, just like we tell people with fasting, it's consistency, not duration.
And not perfection. What do you tell people who fall asleep when they meditate?
That's absolutely fine to do. There's 3 things that can happen, when you make meditation. If you fall asleep, you needed to sleep. It's as simple as that. That happens many times. That doesn't mean you had a bad meditation. That means you needed to sleep. There's no wrong way to meditate. Again, when people are telling me I don't know how to do it right, there's no wrong way. There's no meditation police out there. If you're showing up with intention, that's all that matters. And just trying not to judge yourself, but just surrender to the moment. Because there's so many different ways of meditating too. There's just pure mindfulness. There's guided meditations. That's a great entry, is doing a guided meditation. There's so many apps these days, Insight Timer, Calm, that you can find for guided meditation.
Jamie has a group too on our community live group calendar, so you could go to one of those too.
Yes, you're welcome to. Absolutely. But yeah, it's not about perfection. It's not about perfect stillness. It's not about when you see these people in these poses. You don't need any of that for the entry into meditation. You just need calm heart.
I hear some people say, oh, you're supposed to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And other people say, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And they're concentrating on all these different ways to do it long, slow, as opposed to doing it. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Should we breathe in through our nose and out through our nose, or in through our nose and out through our mouth, or
whatever way is more comfortable? And you can speak to this more, but the most important piece, you want to breathe in through your nose and not through your mouth, because the filters in your nose, don't want to breathe in through your mouth.
Yeah.
So you breathe in through your nose, and there's different techniques breathing out through your mouth. Sometimes you want to do more of a sigh. Like when I start the meditations, I'll breathe in and just give a nice sigh out to really bring everything down.
The sigh is important. We used to have people on the ventilator, and we used to have to program in a sigh every once in a while, because the sigh is very important. And some people talk about this when they eat, and they're trying to only eat to 80%. And they know when they've hit that 80% because there's this sigh that happens. So even then, you're doing that breath.
Interesting.
Yeah, having that little kind of extra is important.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if you're more comfortable breathing in and out through your nose, that's fine as well. You need to make it comfortable to you for your practice. So if you're more comfortable breathing out through your nose, go for it, as long as you're doing it.
Yes. And not quitting at day 7 because the earth didn't move. So
the magic isn't in the 5, 10, 15 minutes that you're meditating. The magic is in the rest of the 23 hours of your day. You'll find yourself just being calmer, less reactive. And I tell this story in the groups at times when people ask me about my experience with meditation. After I had been meditating for quite some time, I went and saw my children. They were grown at the time. I think my daughter was like 24. If anyone out there has 20-year-old daughters, you don't get a whole lot of compliments sometimes as a mom from your daughters. But I was with them, and all of a sudden, my daughter turned to me and she said, Mom, what's going on with you? Something's different. And I expected her to say something snarky, like sometimes daughters will. And she said, you're so much calmer. You're so much less reactive. It's just been a really great trip with you. The only thing I had changed in my life was my meditation practice. And yeah, you just become calmer. You see the world differently.
The thing is that 80% of the people that go to a doctor have a stress-related illness. That's huge. That's a huge amount.
It's frightening.
And when we talk about metabolic health and fasting and all of it, all the things we do, we're actually talking about giving the body room to repair and rebalance. And so this chronic stress is working away in the background against all of that. And so it isn't separate and fluffy wellness or anything you want to say that way. It's actually supporting the same machinery as everything else that we coach. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but with meditation, it's free. There's nothing to buy. You don't have to track it.
Yes.
You can just do it. I did track 1 month a couple of years ago. You had me, because you were always talk about bookend meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I want to admit up front, I have not continued the practice, but I did do it for 1 month. You gave me a challenge several years ago where I bookend meditation, which means I did a meditation in the morning and I did a meditation in the evening, 5 minutes each one. Life-changing. The earth did move. It was almost too scary to keep up. So you want to tell us about that and what that does?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I learned this from my teacher, having bookends your meditation. So you want to start your day with a meditation and end your day with your meditation. So again, using a habit stacking way to make this a habit, my teacher taught me the acronym RPM, Rise, P, Meditate.
I love that.
That way it becomes a habit. When we wake up, let's be honest, usually we have to go to the restroom when we wake up. So you wake up, you go do your business, and then immediately after that, you sit and you do your practice. Now, again, that could be if you want to turn on an app and listen to a guided meditation. That could be if you want just 5 minutes of just breathing, whatever type of practice, but you get that in the morning. I also always include setting an intention for my day. One of the meditations that I've recorded for the community has become really popular called Just for Today. It's all in 5 minutes and you're setting your intention just for today. But what's that doing is it's setting up your day in that relaxed state. And it's giving you kind of guidance. As David G says, that morning meditation, think of it as setting the table for your day. And then what you want to do at the end of your day, you want to do another meditation, which is kind of like washing the dishes, kind of closing out your day. Because between morning and evening, we've got those 8 hours. There's a lot of stuff coming into us, a lot of stimulation coming in. So if you take the time, say late afternoon, evening, and do another 5-minute practice, you're letting go of all that stuff that is occupying you from the day. A very simple practice that I do in the evening, especially an easy entry bar to this, is a let go practice. All that simply is when you breathe in, you silently say let. When you breathe out, silently say go. Just let go. Doing that for 5 minutes, you will not believe how much that eases you in and releases. And what you find, if you do this daily, you're not only releasing stuff from that day, but you start releasing stuff from last week, from last year, sometimes from decades ago. And you don't have to identify it. We're not sitting there identifying, I'm letting go of this, whatever happened. You're just doing that practice.
Being in house.
And it automatically lets it go.
Our issues are in our tissues and we're just letting them go, man.
100%, yes. And I habit stack that one as well. What I do to get in my second meditation, as soon as I close my laptop at the end of my workday, I go do my sit in my meditation spot. So much so it's become my habit and the habit in the household. When my little dogs hear my computer shut at the end of the day, they come tramping in for the evening meditation because they love to meditate with me. So they are also trained that, mommy shut her laptop. I guess it's meditation time. So you make it that habit. And in 10 minutes, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening, you're changing your whole metabolism, your whole
day
chemistry.
Your nervous system. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And I mean, I have to admit that habit stacking it by tacking it on to when I was plating, the 3 breaths.
Yeah.
That really improved it. And cumulative gains. We hear that term from James Clear and Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
It really does start adding up. There are cumulative gains on that. It's just one small moment of my day where I could pause and take a few slow breaths and was able to tack it on. Because I'm going to eat on my eating days. I'm going to eat. So I don't have to engineer a whole new habit, a whole new time, or a whole new ritual. Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've got the Zazen pillow and the this and the that, and I don't do it. But yet I can do the breath. I can take the pause.
Yeah. And you don't need any of that fancy stuff. Yeah. And another way to do it in the morning, even to get in a ritual, is what we call meditation. If you don't have to get up and relieve yourself, most all of us are using that alarm on that phone of ours these days, right? Well, when you hit that snooze button, which I'm sure many of us are guilty of, instead of going back to sleep, just stay in your bed. If you have an iPhone, that is 9 minutes. You have 9 minutes of a meditation. Just scoot yourself up to the headboard, do some breathing. You've done your meditation. you could do it that way as well, using that.
Yeah. So the takeaway from all of this is that you don't need long sessions. You don't need perfect technique. Small moments of slowing down and breathing can make a real difference in so many ways that we don't even know about. And they can add up for far more than we were expecting.
Absolutely. Just small, calming snacks. We say no snacking the fasting method, but you can have calm breathing snacks.
Breathing snacks. There you go. I had several people that were shocked in one of my large groups a couple of weeks ago because I said, what's the major way that fat leaves the body? And everybody in the room was like, elimination, peeing, pooping, all the bodily functions, everything. I said, no, it's breathing. Breathing. By breathing, more fat molecules leave the body. And they're like, what? Everybody mass run to Jamie's meditation class.
Yeah, invite, like we do other challenges, give yourself a challenge, like you did. Try it for 30 days, see how you feel. I guarantee you will feel something.
And you don't have to commit to it the rest of your life, but you might find that you want to. I know that I do more type of meditations that creep in small moments through the day, whereas I only do like 3 where sit down, do it for 15-minute type of thing. Usually in front of my red light when I do that. Habit stack those. But yeah, I can say because of you, because of your mantras, because of your meditation groups, I do sneak in some moments. I remember listening to a comedian and he had me cracking up because he was talking about all these apps and things like that you can get for meditation. And he said, we didn't need any of that as a kid. We just got stuck in a bus seat that we didn't like when it was raining. We looked out the window and watched a drop of water go all the way down the windows.
I love that.
On the bus with all these crazy kids yelling and screaming. And we just took a moment of peace watching that drop go down the window.
Oh, that's funny.
And I started laughing because it's like, yes, that's meditation.
Yes, that's funny.
With nature too.
There's so many different ways of meditation. Once you start exploring it, you can find one that connects with you.
Yeah, it's neat. Well, Jamie, I love talking with you today.
Me too.
I love hearing what you had to say. I love your meditation groups too. I know Coach Heather loves them too. You'll be surprised every once in a while which coach jumps in to one of Coach Jamie's sessions.
Yeah, it's fun. I love seeing you guys when you jump in. Absolutely.
Slow, deep breaths. All right. You good?
I'm good. Thank you. Nice to share the space with you. Yeah, I look forward to talking again.
Join the community. Tell us how you incorporated a pause in your day. How's that?
That's perfect. All right. Okay, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.